Okay, everybody, I'm going to show you to transfer down multiple images, the same images at the same time, using just what you see here, graphite paper. Also, you see this clamp. So what I've done is I put graphite paper here on the next sheet, which will transfer down here, and this one down there. So you see it's going to transfer down 3 images. This one, and this one. Okay, so right now, each one of these, if I don't do something more, it's going to move. So I don't want it to move. I want it to stay in the same exact place for all of them. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to clamp this thing, just like that. Now everything moves together. I don't have to worry about it shifting or anything else like that. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to press a little harder . And I may have on that third one, I may have to go in and redefine the lines. Now, the reason why I want you to do 3 is 1, so you can say you know how to do it. 2, that I'm going to want you to go through a step-by-step process. Basically, you'll do the first shade on one, the second shade on the 2 shades on the second one, and a third shade on the third one. And this helps you. It's kind of like having your own lesson plan. So if you ever forget how to do this, you have a step-by-step process how to do it. And so that's something that we'll go over. Now another thing we'll go over is the fact that when I'm drawing things out, if I've got a straight line, I got a straight line. But I've got shadows in here too, and I've got to be able to represent those so I recognize those when I get ready to draw or when I get ready to paint. So how do I do that? How do I distinguish them from these lines here, the structural lines, to the shadow lines? Well, that's easy. I'm going to use a rotating line. I'm going to come in here, just like there. I'm going to use rotating line here to create this shape here. Straight lines where there's straight lines. And then every time I run into a shadow, like say, we're going to come here. This is a shadow, so I'm going to use a little kind of a rotating line to kind of represent that. And I know that when I'm doing this, that when I go back to draw it in, it gives me an idea of what I'm looking at. Creases, of course. Got the shadow right there. Shadow right there. Now even these light parts, which you're seeing here, okay. And if I've done my job right, I'm going to have 3 transfers. And like I said, the purpose of these transfers is not to, the purpose of the transfers are not to see how much you've transferred down or getting an exact image, which it kind of is. But it's really more about what is the purpose of the transfer in the first place. The purpose of these transfers really is to do a value study. So I want everybody kind of get that kind of straight right away, because everybody seems to want, ooh, it's a cow, we got to do a cow, everything's got to be perfect cow. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be a cow, because that's not its purpose. Its purpose is for us to learn how to deal with values, and values only. And it makes better pictures, also gives you better structure. And makes things look a little better. So if I use rotating line here, then I know exactly when I get in, because this is going to have a lot of lines to it. And when you get into painting, it's the same exact thing. You wind up getting a lot of lines in there, where sometimes you don't need them and sometimes you do, and then it gets confusing because you're looking at these lines going, which goes to what? So you got to keep your head kind of screwed on straight with that. So that's the reason why I use a lot more rotating line when I do the shadows than when I do the straights. Unless it's actually like up here, then I'm going to have to use a little bit of rotating line or character. I'm just going to follow that. Don't go too fast. Just get the image down correctly. That's all I'm going to say. What I notice is that everybody's kind of tracing or just drawing that shape, and you're missing out the character of the shape. And I've got to figure a way of helping you guys out with that, because it's like if you draw the character of the shape, that's a lot more interesting than just drawing the shape. Which is more interesting to look at? I think that might be an easy way to describe it. Again, I'm going to put down as much information I possibly can, because once I pull this off, that's the only thing I have to work from. And if I don't have that to work from, then it's going to be very hard for me to make an accurate drawing. And if you think I'm tough, try to get in any sort of architecture class, because that's got to be exact. So you can kind of see I'm just using some straight lines where it's necessary, and if it's light against shadow, and sorry about that, I'm in my classroom. And this is, we'll call her Bessie. Okay. I'm also, one thing you notice, I'm not staying exclusively in one place or going from top to bottom, right to left. I'm actually kind of moving around. And that one's kind of up to you on how you want to do it. I just do it because I'm just used to painting that way, and it finishes work off a lot faster, and I'm able to see mistakes a lot quicker. So I can go around here, and it's easy for me to see places that I've missed, places I want to put in. It gives me fresh eyes. So when I'm doing this, it's always about what more I can add to the painting, drawing, whatever. And if I can do it at this stage, then it's going to be easy for when I get to the other stage. And I can't really move anybody on to the next stage until we have a kind of an understanding of this. So if you're not doing the work, it's very hard to move on to a painting element when you're not doing the stuff we need to do in order to actually do the work. And finding value also is, what is the purpose? Why are we doing this? What is the purpose of doing these drawings? What is the purpose of this? That's what you have to decide. What is the purpose? One, I'd say the purpose right now is to get a grade. And unfortunately, you can't just rush through this stuff. So you've got to start now. You've got to start working on this stuff now. If you don't start now, the end of the year comes around and say part of the grade is a drawing. And if you've never drawn before, what do you think your grade's going to be on that drawing? So, and it's not something that you can just whip right through. You've got to use your experience to do this. Experience is the only thing you have when drawing. So I want you to think about, if you want the grade in the class, and everybody does toward the end of it, then you have to start with this kind of stuff now. The experience is the only way you're going to get a grade, or actually a competent grade, out of this. Or you'll just get what you get. It's no sweat off me. In other words, I can lead you how to do this, but I can't do it for you. Because that's not the purpose. The purpose is to see what you guys can learn. Okay. Now you notice I'm not putting any grass or anything else like that. I never seem to do that. And I'm just putting down as much information as I possibly can. What I'm seeing, what I'm versing, what I don't see. And you'd be surprised, even when you think you got everything here, you lift it up and you go, oh, I forgot that. So just so you know. Okay. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go this way. I want to see what I've gotten. Did it transfer down? Yep, transfer down. And let me see here. Got a real light drawing. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull these because I think I got enough information. Okay, see how dark this one is? I mean, this is really a dark line drawing. Okay, so I'm going to do that right there. I'm going to pull this. And you're going to see a difference right now on this one. Because you're going through paper and you're going through transfer paper. See how light that is? Now that's pretty typical how I work. That's just kind of where I'm at. I don't necessarily want a whole bunch of lines there because I want to go back and re-render that drawing. We come here, and all of a sudden, we have to re-render, don't we? Because it's such a light drawing. But that's how we do 3 transfers. Exactly the same thing. It's a way of educating ourselves on, you know, first of all, line drawing. Do we got it? How do we get it? Now see, it's exactly the same image. So I'm pretty good. Also, this teaches us, when we get to this stage, we have to do this. Hang on. This also helps us with our rendering. Now something that this also follows a Da Vinci style of drawing. This is really a straight line through here, but I decided to give it some curve. Curve makes things interesting. Straight lines like this. So instead of having just a regular line, that's the advantage of being able to transfer this stuff down. So I'm going to come in here. If I do this rounded like it was, it makes him look like he's fat. So I'm going to come in here lightly render this down. You see, kind of fat right there. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to rotate that round. Now I'll have to pull off my transfer. And one thing I'll do there is that's where the real drawing becomes. Because right now all I'm doing is I'm just putting down the known information I have, so it gives me something to work with. So this is another part of drawing. This is where experience comes in, knowing that when I do this, what's going to be interesting to look at, what isn't. It also helps me in the drawing process. Also helps me in the painting process. See, that was actually a straight line, so I curved it. Makes it more interesting. Makes it more interesting to look at. Also, it helps you if you understand muscle structure. And so when you're doing this kind of stuff, As you can kind of see, just with this little bit of information I have here, I'm able to get it, but it's still so light. I've got to go back and re-render this whole thing. But I like that part because that tells me what I know versus I know. See, I've lost part of the leg here. That's okay. I'm trying not to push too hard because I don't want to move any of this other stuff here. And if you've got this information here, there we go. So I'm not going to even grab my reference until I've got all this stuff down here. It's going to tell me what I have versus what I don't have, what I need, what I don't need. So I'm going to just put in all this information here and I'll re-render it. So you can tell some of these areas I kind of pushed hard, others I didn't. But this is also something you learn right there. They changed that dynamic. So I'm starting to get a pretty good, just this. I mean, I could probably paint off of this because I've got enough information here. I got my shadow areas. I got my lights and darks. And why I'm also doing this part here, I'm usually thinking about color. Thinking about what I want to add to this, what I want to take away, what I want to do with it. Now, one thing I can do is I can go back to this one here. There we go. I'll put that there. Now I'll just come down like this. What do I need? Okay. So what I'm looking at here is really, and I really didn't draw that in. Okay, so I'm going to come here. There we go. So you can see I'm not really, what I'm doing is I'm trying to see what I have versus what I don't have, what I put in, what I missed, like all this stuff right here. And I've got light lines in there too, so I can do this with. So it does help me. Okay. So as you can see, every time I flip it over, I'm seeing something more than I needed to put in. And I'm not trying to add anything to it. I'm just kind of only adding where the lines are, because that's pretty much what I need. I don't need a whole lot more than that to work. And that's all in shadow, so all that's hair and fur. So it does represent itself okay with the okay, so we got there, we got that. I'm just looking at these little tiny areas here, here. Let's see, yeah. Gotta put some, some of the stuff that it just doesn't want to transfer down, so you just have to go back in and re-render. There we go. Got the rest of the leg there. There we go. So every time you do anything, you are rendering all the time. And you know, if you do this right, the imagery is going to look exactly what you want it to be. It's also going to be all the information is where you want it to be. You come this way. You're going to see more to it. And you're going to change those lines a little bit too, because you never know, you know, you're just going to move these lines a little bit. Now see, that's not getting too bad. I might go back up and look at the eye a little bit right there. It's got some, she's got a cute little eye, which is really important. You always want to make sure the eyes are there. So draftsmanship is very important. Learning how to do it is important. All this is important. So when you tell me you got something and you can't do this part, then you don't have it. So that's what this is all about. This is also about just kind of following directions. You know, if you follow directions, I guarantee you, you're going to get something good out of this. Yeah, see? Okay. I am pretty happy with my sketch. Okay. So now this gives me 1, 2, 3 to work with. The first one's basically giving me that first shade. The second one is going to be second value. So you're adding another value. So you're doing the first one, the second one, and then the third one is going to go pretty dark. And then the fourth one, we usually do a fourth one. And the fourth one will give us all the information we need as we're making this almost three-dimensional. And you've seen how the Einsteins come out. You've seen all these other ones come out. So guess what? There we go. And that's how we do that. Now I've got these other ones I'm going to work on. This was something we did yesterday, so kind of simple. And so I've got all these going here. So I will wind up doing these. But I won't do them 4 times, I'll just do them 1 time. And then we'll go through the step-by-step process with the 3 cows. So I've got this one, and this one. Now what I'm also seeing is not everybody is all happy, because it's not, you can't just sit down and just do whatever you want. And that's not the idea. The idea is giving you the tools so you can do whatever you want. Unfortunately, you know, by just doing whatever you want isn't exactly what we're not exactly covering the right information. So anyway, that's how we transfer down multiple images. That's how we re-render. That's how we look and observe. This is how this kind of covers everything in a nutshell. So anyway, you guys have a good one, and it was a pleasure. Mr. Bauer's out.